There are 55 days until Donald Trump will raise his hand and swear the 35-word oath that all presidents have taken from George Washington on. He will promise to do this time what he desecrated last time, which is to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. This is the warning. When we get to the end of Trump's term, I have some predictions. He will be one of the most unpopular presidents in American history. His 4 years will be a failure. The economy will be a disaster, and the security situation around the world will be terrible. It will be dangerous. American forces will be in harm's way, and everything that Donald Trump said that he was going to do will be either left undone, have resulted in a giant catastrophe, or had the opposite effect of what he was intending. During the 4 years, Donald Trump will go on a deregulatory binge. The federal government is too big. It is too sclerotic. The remedy to it isn't smashing it, but that's what Donald Trump will do. On the other side of this is a chance for renewal, for Democrats, for progressives. Progress is the key part of progressivism. Piers Morgan, while denouncing The View and calling for its cancellation yesterday in the pages of the New York Post, made a number of claims from London about America and the American majority, which he is dead ass wrong about. Completely. A great many MAGA personalities and commentators are suggesting that we have entered a new age of Trumpistan and that the American people have bequeathed to Donald Trump all of their decision-making, all of their agency for all time. Daddy knows best, and he'll make America great again, doing whatever he wants. This is fantastical. This is not what happened on Election Day, and the American people will not stand for it. By a very slim number of votes in total, Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. He was elected with no mandate to do whatever he wants. His mandate is specific, and it is to accomplish a couple of things. Donald Trump has been given a clear mandate to communicate that the expectation of the American taxpayer is that the European countries will pay for their own defense if they are to be under America's protection, under America's nuclear umbrella, that they must pull their own weight. Donald Trump has that mandate. It's indisputable. And I support him in that effort. Donald Trump has a mandate to deal with America's broken border. And grandstanders like the mayor of Denver, who say, I will not cooperate with federal authorities enforcing the law, I intend to break it, are no better than the lawless MAGA people who just won in the first place. This moment requires better. The truth of the matter is, the people that will be deported are in the country illegally, and the American people voted. And a lot of those people will be removed from the country. Now, there are no details, there is no budget, and an extremist sits in the White House who has a fetish for cruelty, has asked in the Oval Office about the possibility of the military killing migrants with a missile strike off the coast of San Diego, where he was told to shut the f*** up by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, again, in the Oval Office, is running the deportation program. So what could go wrong? There will be abuses, human rights abuses, due process abuses, abuses of children and families and women that take place during this. And it will take place in our name, the name of the American people. And as this mass deportation comes into effect and the country is lashed by its cruelty and families are brutalized by the vindictiveness, the American people will get to process what they voted for, what they chose. The second that Donald Trump takes that oath of office, he may deploy the U.S. military domestically. He may turn the military loose to deport 18 million people. Who knows? Some things are easy to see and to process, to know about. Now, there are other things that most Americans just don't know a lot about because most Americans are not economists. And it's very easy in a globalized economy where everything is connected to lie to somebody and tell them that there's a better deal to be had if you can sprinkle some things called tariffs over the cake that's called the economy, which makes some things more expensive than others for the purposes of helping sell things to people that are made in your country as opposed to somebody else's. Now, this makes sense, right? Donald Trump announced yesterday that to help America, which is a country, and Americans, which are the 340 million of us who live in the country, that he's going to take a stand and do something to punish other countries to help Americans. Following me so far? The action that he's going to take is to impose something called a tariff on every product that comes into the United States. And what he said is he's going to put a tariff on everything that comes from Mexico, everything that comes from China, and everything that comes into the United States from Canada. Let me show you a picture of a house. Now, pull the house apart down to its most minute elements. The wood comes from where? Beam by beam. The nails, the plastic, the dishwasher. Let's say that the dishwasher is made in China and it costs $1,000 at Best Buy. Under Trump's plan, it now costs $1,250. This is what inflation is. When something that costs $10 today costs $12 next week, while your paycheck stays at $11. If Trump does what Donald Trump has promised to do, the inflation of the Biden era will be like sticking your ankle into the ocean as opposed to jumping off the boat into the ocean in the middle of it. Americans are great at a lot of things. The thing that we are all-time world champions at is consumption. So if you consume a lot of cheap plastic shit from China, everything in your life is about to be much more expensive. If you work in the American economy, building something for someone, making something for someone, crafting something for someone, doing something for someone, like let's say you're young Martha Stewart, 50 years old, you're about to step forward into your catering business. Everything that you do just got more expensive. And who do you pass that cost on to? The person paying. Who's that? Is that Trump? Is that Eric Trump? Let's listen to the great economist, Kusei Trump, talk about the tariffs.
You want to allow drugs to come through our southern border? We're going to tariff you. You want to allow them to come through Canada? We're going to tariff you. China, if you're going to allow this stuff to get sold in our country, largely produced in China, we're going to add another 10% to your share. We are going to cost your countries, your economies, we're going to cost your businesses billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. If you think you're going to poison Americans, it's not going to happen. You're not going to destroy our youth. You're not going to destroy our society. You're not going to destroy our families. You're not going to do it. It's going to cost you. I'm going to put an end to it. Laura, when my father sent that 20 minutes ago, I literally cheered out loud.
About 40 years ago, the American people were sold a great lie. They were sold a lie by the bankers and by Wall Street, by politicians, and it created a new age. The dignity of the American people who made things, who built things, the industrial heartland of the country was stripped away, sold off, exported to China, to Mexico. And this phenomenon does not just apply to the United States. The search for cheaper labor is eternal. As the Chinese economy has grown and developed a middle class, costs have risen because pay has risen. And so where does the Chinese job go? It goes to Vietnam. And from Vietnam, it will go to Myanmar someday or somewhere else. This is part of the global economy. But a lowest common denominator economy that pushes wages down ever more makes the American worker a serf and the peer of workers who are paid pennies to indulge the consumerism of the American. What Donald Trump has sold to the American people is a vision that they're taken advantage of, that they're disrespected, that they're unappreciated. There's truth to all of it, particularly when judged against the judgment of America's elites or their friends all around the world. Nobody likes to be taken advantage of. And the American people just elected a guy to smash it. Nothing is going to stop the smashing for 2 years. And politically, an opposition has to fight back, which means it's going to need to drop back because it's not strong enough to oppose every action as a 50-50 proposition. This is the cost of defeat, and it's terrible. It's terrible. It's why in moments I've been so angry because the defeat has been so unnecessary. But we will pay the price, and we will learn the hard way that Winston Churchill meant it and was correct when he said, the people get the government they deserve. The good news is the United States is a project that will endure beyond our lives. It's bigger. We fit into it within a moment of it, and then we will be gone and the country will endure. There have been dark chapters, terrible ones, and they're all forgotten now. Your average American could not speak to any of them. In this era, all the hyperbole, all of the mishegas will fade. After the damage is done, after the danger has passed, there will be renewal and there will be better. It's my hope we get to that renewal, we get to that hitch where the pendulum swings back as quickly as possible. And the way we'll get there is to let the rope out, because pulling on it does nothing except help Donald Trump, who now gets a chance to do what he promised to do. Donald Trump will be president, and a wave of shocking executive orders will roll out. He will not be an incrementalist, not this time. The amount of information that will be released will flood the country, and it will be across a depth and breadth of agencies, departments, subject areas, military, civil, concerning immigration, concerning the public health, you name it. He's going to take executive actions, assert power with absolute immunity for the purposes of remaking the country. And in that moment, Trump's defeated opposition should take stock and make some commitments that it will never be gaslit, deluded, and bullshit by leaders of the Democratic Party ever again. Because on Inauguration Day, the Democratic leaders who Trump relied on to win are unlikely to be thanked. But you should know their names and remember them, because some of them, like Chuck Schumer, are fools. And those fools control $1 billion of political spending that decides whether Donald Trump gets a check on him in 2 years' time. The circumstances are urgent and exigent, and the era of indulgence with these people, please God, should be over. Yet it is not likely to be, because power, as we have learned this year in the most tragic of ways, is something that the geriatric Democrats will not release their grip on by themselves. So if you're a Democratic donor, you're a Democratic activist, heading into this holiday season, you should be pissed off, not celebrating the leadership of the Democratic Party. And unlike some, you absolutely should not be claiming that they were faultless, they did nothing wrong, and that the reason Trump is in the White House is the American people are ignorant, stupid, racist, and beneath you. Because if you do, what it guarantees is President Vance in 4 years. And there's an awful lot of us who are sick and tired of paying the bill for the arrogancies of a bunch of left-wing political extremists who yoked the country to some of the most stupid positions in American political history, like defund the police, and demanded that everybody say it. Great job. Now it's time to focus on better. And the first thing that Democrats should do is start thinking about not what to say about the next thing that Donald Trump says, but to think bigger, to think about you, to think about how to be on your side, how to be on your kids' side, and how to talk to you about what this country is going to look like 25 years from now. They say the days are long, the years are short. Because I'm 54, I'm figuring out what that means. 20 years ago, America was powerful. 24 years ago, the turn of the millennium, America was the most powerful nation in the history of human civilization, with infinite possibilities ahead of it. It was an era of peace, unity, and prosperity. We have decayed over a quarter century, and it's gone by quickly. The way out of the decay and these failed presidencies of the 21st century, with the exception of Obama's, is to articulate better, fast. Because as soon as we start doing that, Donald Trump will have to start defending what it is that he has done and doing. And that is when MAGA crumbles. And that'll be a good thing. This is The Warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning. And I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.